Hi, folks. This is Doc Hanley again. I say again because I just did a really good video, and when I finished it, I figured out that I didn't have my microphone turned on. So, anyway, we'll try it again. I've got some really great news about the excursion to the 1902 train wreck site. I was finally able to get with my friend Gary and go find the actual site. And I say find it because he knew where it was between 50 and 60 years ago and hasn't been back since then. So it was our job on the preliminary excursion to go out and actually locate the site, which seems like it should be easy, but things change a lot in 50 or 60 years. So the thing that caused the most problem is that he remembered the site being on the other side of the second trestle outside of Barry, but the only problem is that one of the trestles had been filled in the intervening years, and so we kept looking for the second trestle, and we didn't find it because we'd already crossed it. So anyway, finally we figured out what was going on, and we went back to the site. And once we located the site, we started looking for artifacts. Good news is we found three pieces of metal that appear to be parts of rail cars, but we did not find any other artifacts. The bad news. And we Gary showed me the hill where the bodies of those killed were buried in a mass grave. He said the mound back in the late 50s or early 60s when he was there, that the mound was about 3 or 4 feet high and more or less rectangular in shape. And we don't know if they dug down and buried them and put the mound on top, or if they simply laid the corpses and body parts on the top of the ground and covered it up. As I said, this was 1902. There were no T models, there were no telephones. You traveled by train or mule and wagon, and you communicated by telegraph. And that's the way it was in 1902, especially out in the countryside. So anyway, when those people were killed, uh, it was a tough situation because they had to notify the next of kin, and if they couldn't find them, they had bodies and body parts to deal with, and it was just a bad situation. Now, some of the bodies were transported back to Mississippi and buried. And one of the articles I posted on Facebook tells the name of the cemetery where they were buried. But a lot of those killed on site were buried on site because of the problems with communication and transportation and finding the next of kin in a primitive time. So anyway, when we make the excursion, we'll try to find the burial mound. It's on top of a high hill, and we didn't walk up there. We were pretty tired already. So anybody who wants to try to find it will go up and see if it's still identifiable now. And we were fortunate for years. I've tried to find out information about this train wreck, when it happened, where it happened, and nobody knows anything, or nobody seems to know anything. So anyway, I found with the advent of the internet, I was able with the internet to find a lot of articles about the train wreck. And I was really glad about that. And I started talking about the train wreck on Facebook. And a friend of mine, Gary, said, "Hey, I know where the train wreck happened." And I said, "Well, how do you know?" He's only slightly older than I am. He said, "Well, when he was a small child, they lived on land owned by Mr. Frank Jones, who was a prominent landowner in Barry. Mr. Jones was born on March the 19th, 1991, and he died on October 13, 1992, 1891 to 1972. Let me say it again, March 9, 1891 to October 13, 1972. So he was 81 years old when he died, but he was in his 70s, more or less, when he showed Gary the site of the train wreck. Now, Mr. Jones lived within about a half a mile of the train wreck site, and he went out there after the wreck. He was 11 years old. He went to the train wreck site, and he saw the bodies and the mangled body parts, and he told Gary about all this, and he showed Gary the exact location of the train wreck site and the burial mound. And this was in the probably early 60s, I would say. I didn't ask Gary the exact date, but probably in the early 60s. And like I said, Gary used to walk that track going home, but he got kind of spooked walking it and quit walking it back in the 60s. So he had not walked down that track in 50 some odd years. And so that made it a little more difficult finding the exact spot because of the trestle situation. And we were finally able to identify the correct trestle. One of them had been covered in, and he remembered two small trestles, but one of them had been covered in, and the other one was the one at the train wreck site. And we found three artifacts. They appear to be pieces of rail cars, and I'm going to try to make a positive ID on those, and nothing else. It's been 1902 to 2025. Do the math, it's been 120 something years since the train wreck. So, there's nothing left as far as artifacts other than possibly the three things we found. Also, the burial site's on a hill adjacent to the wreck site. We didn't go up the hill, but we could do that on the excursion. It's a long walk. If you choose to go on the excursion, it's about 1.5 miles walk from Berry and about 1.5 miles back on the railroad track. There's a drop-off point that's probably less than 1 mile from the wreck site, but there's no parking there. So if you have someone that can drop you off there, you can be dropped off at the drop-off site and then wait until our caravan reaches you and we can go on to the site, and then you can be picked up at the drop-off point. If you go on the excursion, of course, you'll need to bring water or whatever you might need for a long trek, because if you make the whole trip from Berry and back, it's going to be about 3 mile round trip walk. But anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited to actually see this train wreck site that I've heard about most of my life. And I was excited to find some artifacts, which I do believe are parts of rail cars, and I'm going to get a positive ID on those one way or another. But over a period of 120 some odd years, things get away. People, I suspect a lot of the cars disappeared as scrap metal, and maybe there were some people in the early years where the site was known that picked up parts for souvenirs or whatever. And, in the intervening years, in 120 years, a lot of things happen. And I just feel fortunate that we were able to find the site. Feel fortunate to know somebody that knew somebody that actually saw the train wreck site. It's some coincidence that we're able to find it. I don't know if there's anyone else around Berry who knows where the site was. Gary's the only one I've ever seen that knows, and it's just a coincidence that he knows. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the excursion. I'll give instructions ahead of time. I'm going to pick a date for the excursion and then put some parameters in. I'll have you go to a website for the weather forecast, and if the temperature is going to be above a certain degrees or below a certain degrees, I'll put a parameter in there for that. And we want to go on a day it's not going to rain. We don't want to be rained on going out there. But anyway, good news, we found some artifacts. Bad news, we only found 3 small pieces. and we have to get a positive identification on those. Good news, we know where the burial site is. Bad news, we didn't go up there, so we can check that out during the excursion. Bad news, it's a long walk. If you can't walk that far, I apologize, there's no other way to get there. I wish I had one of those little rail cars that, that we could ride out there on, but we don't have that. And so anyway, I'm excited about the upcoming excursion, and I know some of you probably are. It's, you know, it would have been great if we could have found some big pieces of rail cars there. That would have been fantastic. We didn't do that, but I really believe we may have found parts of a rail car there. And of course, wooden artifacts of the rail cars would be long gone before now. Gary said there was a big piece of sheet metal that was there back in the 50s actually, and that he would throw rocks at it from the railroad track. It appeared to be the roof of a rail car. And so anyway, that's gone. Everything's gone, and it looks like somebody had been collecting these pieces we found and left them there. They were by an old rusty bucket, like they've been picked up. So anyway, hopefully we'll be able to get a positive ID on those, but we have definitely located the wreck site, and we know definitely where the burial site was, even though we didn't go to it. It may take some time to find it, and hopefully there'll still be a mound there. I don't know. But anyway, looking forward to the excursion, and I hope you'll check my Facebook page, Roger Handley. And I hope you'll like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm still trying to promote it and not having a great deal of luck because I don't post very often, but I hope you will like it and subscribe to it and tell everybody about the excursion. And I'll be posting again before long. This is Doc Handley saying so long and God bless you.